In the autumn of 1987, David Chen moved into the old Waterman house on Elm Street. The Victorian home had sat empty for 3 years. And there was a reason for that. The previous owner, elderly Mrs. Waterman, had been found at the bottom of her basement stairs. Natural causes, the coroner said, a simple fall. But the neighbors whispered about the sounds they'd heard in the weeks before her death. Footsteps above her bedroom. Every night at 3:17 a.m., David dismissed the stories. He was a practical man, a software engineer. He believed in facts, not folklore. The first week passed without incident. Then, on a Tuesday night, David woke to the sound of footsteps. Slow, deliberate steps crossing the floor above his bedroom. But David slept on the second floor. There was only an attic above him. He grabbed a flashlight and climbed the narrow attic stairs. The beam revealed nothing but dust and cobwebs, old Christmas decorations, a rocking chair covered by a white sheet. The footsteps stopped. 3 nights later, they returned. Same time, 3:17 a.m. This time, David was ready. He had installed motion sensors throughout the attic. Cameras. If something was up there, he would catch it. The footage showed nothing. But the audio captured every step. Slow, measured, deliberate. Moving in a perfect circle around the rocking chair, David called the police. They found nothing. No signs of intrusion. No explanation for the sounds. But they did find something else. Hidden beneath a loose floorboard in the attic, they discovered a leather journal. Mrs. Waterman's handwriting filled every page. The final entry was dated 3 days before her death. It follows the same path every night. Around and around. I know what it wants. I've always known. The accident in 1952 wasn't an accident. We covered it up, all of us. But Thomas won't rest. He's been walking up there for 35 years, waiting for someone to tell the truth. David moved out the next morning. The house has remained empty ever since. The photography studio Sarah. Mitchell inherited her grandfather's photography studio in downtown Portland in 2003. The building had been in their family for 60 years, and she planned to restore it to its former glory. While cleaning out the darkroom, Sarah discovered hundreds of photographs hidden behind a false wall. Black and white portraits from the 1940s and 50s. Beautiful work, she thought. Her grandfather had real talent, but as she examined the images more closely, Sarah noticed something disturbing. In every single photograph, the subject's eyes were completely black. Not the pupils, the entire eye. As if they had been filled with ink. She assumed it was a developing error. Some chemical reaction that had occurred over the decades. But when she held the negatives up to the light, the eyes appeared normal. Sarah decided to reprint several of the photographs using the original negatives. The new prints were perfect. Clear, bright eyes that seemed to follow her around the room. That night, Sarah had a vivid dream. She was standing in the dark room, watching her grandfather work. A young woman sat perfectly still as he adjusted the camera. When the flash went off, the woman's eyes turned completely black. "She won't remember," her grandfather whispered. "None of them will." Sarah woke with a start. She rushed to the studio and searched through her grandfather's business records. Every person in those photographs had been reported missing within a week of their portrait session. 47 people. Over a span of 8 years. Sarah took the photographs to the police. The detective, a man named Reynolds, studied them carefully. "My grandmother is in one of these pictures," he said quietly. "She disappeared in 1951. We always assumed she'd run off with another man." The investigation that followed uncovered the truth. Sarah's grandfather had been drugging his subjects during their portrait sessions. The black eyes in the original photographs were a side effect of the chemical compound he'd been using. What he did to them after, that secret died with him. But Sarah still dreams about that dark room. And sometimes, when she's developing her own photographs, she swears she can see her grandfather's reflection in the chemical baths. Watching, waiting, smiling. The Miller farm in the summer of 2019. Jessica and Mark Torres bought a small farm outside of Millfield, Ohio. The property had been abandoned for 15 years, but the price was too good to pass up. The previous owners, the Miller family, had left everything behind. Furniture, clothes, even family photographs still hanging on the walls. It was as if they had simply vanished one day. Jessica found it charming. Mark found it unsettling. Their first night in the house, they were awakened by the sound of a child crying. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It echoed through the walls, rising and falling like a siren. They searched every room, every closet, every corner of the basement and attic. Nothing. The crying stopped at sunrise. Jessica called the local sheriff the next morning. Deputy Wilson knew the property well. The Millers had a daughter, he said. Little Emma. She was about 7 when they left. Sweet kid, always playing in those cornfields. What happened to them? Jessica asked. Wilson was quiet for a long moment. Nobody knows for sure. One day they were here, next day they weren't. Left everything behind. Even the dog. That evening, Jessica found a child's diary hidden in the master bedroom closet. Emma Miller's diary. The final entry made Jessica's blood run cold. Mommy says we have to leave tonight. She's crying and Daddy won't look at me. They think I don't know about the bad thing in the corn, but I do. It's been calling to me every night. It wants me to come play, but I know better now. I know what happened to the other kids. The ones who went into the corn and never came back. Jessica showed the diary to Mark. That night, they heard the crying again. But this time they heard something else. Footsteps in the cornfield. Small footsteps, running. They called the police. A search team arrived at dawn and combed through every acre of the cornfield. What they found made the news across 3 states. Buried beneath the corn, they discovered the remains of 6 children, all between the ages of 5 and 9. All missing persons from the surrounding counties over the past 20 years. And in the center of it all, they found a small grave marker, hand-carved from wood. Emma Miller, age 7. She tried to warn them. Jessica and Mark moved out that same day. The farm has been sealed off by the state police. But sometimes when the wind is just right, farmers in the area say they can still hear crying coming from those empty cornfields. Crying. And the sound of small feet running through the stalks. Running away from something that's still out there, still waiting, still hungry.